Greetings, Missouri Mid-South. We are coming up on annual meeting season for most of our congregations. Lots of congregations are having your annual meetings in the next few weeks. I know some churches have planned online format meetings using Zoom or another platform. Some churches are doing an in-person meeting. Maybe they're moving those out a couple of weeks to let Omicron levels decrease in their communities before coming together again. It's a good idea. I want to offer up the words of Psalm 126 again this week. It's our touchstone scripture for this reset year in Missouri Mid-South. So we'll sit with it a number of times over the course of this year. And I want to invite you to think about the world that the psalmist is describing. Really, it's two worlds. It's the world as it is, and the world that we yearn for. And the world that we yearn for is both a world in the past, maybe a world we see through nostalgia or rose-colored glasses, and also a future that we long to see. That imagined world contrasts with the world that is. Listen to the words of the psalmist. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with shouts of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we rejoiced. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like the watercourses in the Negeb. May those who sow in tears reap with shouts of joy. Those who go out with weeping, bearing the seed for sowing, shall come home with shouts of joy, carrying their sheaves. A colleague this week used the phrase, God's preferred future, which I find myself pondering now. Is there a difference between the world that we yearn for and that the psalmist describes and God's preferred future? As you go into your annual meetings, I hope that you're not just asking the questions of how to pay the bills and how to fill up your committees as if they are merely functional questions. These are spiritual questions as well. How do our church's gifts and priorities, as reflected in the budget, as reflected in our leadership choices, how do our church's gifts and priorities bring the world closer to God's preferred future? Are we using these gifts and priorities to seek the world that we yearn for, or the world that God yearns for, God's preferred future? I wonder, and I invite you to wonder and reflect with me. Ask one another in your annual meetings. Now back to the more mundane part of the video. Because it is annual meeting time, it is also annual form filling out time. You may recall that every year we ask for information updates. The yearbook information that goes to the national office, clergy information review forms that help us make sure we've got correct contact information in the association and conference offices, but also gives a chance to clergy to let us know what's going on in their lives. And this year we're bringing back a church leaders information form that we haven't used in a couple of years. We paused its use during COVID. But this is a form that helps the conference make sure that we're connecting with the appropriate leaders in a congregation. After all, we can't communicate with you if we don't know how to reach you, and your leaders change every year. We've put these forms on our website with a handy link in the e-courier itself. And while we're at it, we've also reposted the OCWM 2022 form for congregations to let us know how much they intend to set aside for their OCWM giving. Since it's annual meeting season, you've probably got that figured out by now, and you can let us know pretty easily. If you've got any questions about how to fill out the forms, please contact Kathy in the office Mondays through Wednesdays. If you've got any questions about why these forms are important, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to tell you all about how this little bit of bureaucracy helps bring us all closer to God's preferred future, because it really does. Thanks be to God.